Hello everyone, welcome back. I am your host, The Strange Connector, and this is part 2 of my in-depth look at the Marco Tribute Masters colouring pencil set. You can find part 1, where I unbox, swatch and test the pencils, linked in the top right corner. Advance warning, it's a very long, very rambling video. In today's video, I will draw using the beautiful Marco Tribute Masters pencils on Derwent Lightfast Paper while chatting to keep us company. Feel free to play this in the background as you carry on with other tasks, or join me in drawing. As always, I want to clarify that I am not a drawing expert, pencil artist, or professional YouTuber. I'm just here to have fun. Though I am trained as a sound artist, my experience in traditional visual art is more limited. I mention this because many social media creators, despite their limited experience, may appear as experts, which can confuse beginners. So please don't take my opinions as absolute. They only reflect my personal preferences as an enthusiast. And now, on with the video. The first subject that came to mind for my Marco pencils drawing was David Lynch. I have wanted to add a Lynch-related drawing to my art journal for a while because he represents something significant to me. I struggle to articulate it, but Lynch's creative approach and attitude to life resonate with me on a gut level. I don't own all his works, analyse every frame, or say follow every Lynch-related social media account, but he always felt like a kindred spirit. I often turn to him as an example, and despite not always immediately reflecting his influence in my work, he remains the artist I connect with the most. I feel like he came from the same planet I hail from, or something. Obviously, I don't mean that literally. Some of you watching might just be interested in the pencils, and may not know that David Lynch has recently and sadly passed. Or you might not even be familiar with his work, or know who he is. That's fine, you're welcome here. Everyone is. Here is my art journal, which is a Khadi Fatbook that I absolutely love. I won't show you the inside of my art journal beyond the few pages I flipped through and the drawing I'll create now, as it's a really personal space, not just a sketchbook. So please bear with me. Though it's not the most versatile paper, it's great for wet media and has a wonderful texture. But the Khadi paper in the Fatbook specifically doesn't behave like it's surface-sized, unlike the paper in some smaller Khadi sketchbooks I also own. Ink and paint can soak through to the other side easily in the Fatbook, especially watercolour pencils and water-soluble crayons for some reason. Putty eraser can also lift the cotton fibre, which reinforces my view that it may not be surface-sized, it may just be internally sized. Pencil also doesn't apply well due to the texture of the paper. I love using it, I love Khadi, and I love the Fatbook, but it's making me crave other media, and since it's such a thick sketchbook, it's taking me ages to finish, and I find myself stuck having to use mostly watercolour. So I had a great idea. Why not kill 3 birds with 1 stone for this video? That is, create a David Lynch drawing using Marco pencils on Derwent Lightfast Paper, which I've had a stack of that's been sitting unused in a corner of my studio for months. Afterward, I'll stick the drawing in my journal. So I will get to draw David Lynch for my journal, test the Marco pencils, and try the Derwent Lightfast paper. I got the Derwent Lightfast paper with a birthday gift card from work. It was on sale and just within my budget. Otherwise, it's very expensive paper. I'm curious about its performance since it's 100% cotton paper, specifically designed for pencils. And I find that hot-pressed 100% cotton watercolour paper works exceptionally well with pencils normally. So I was curious to try actual pencil paper that has those qualities. The paper comes in a 20-sheet pad, glued on one side, so it's a pad. 300 GSM, hot pressed, 100% cotton. So I cut a square slightly smaller than a page of the Khadi sketchbook to be able to comfortably stick it in there once I'm done drawing. As you'll see, I quite like to start out with very, very light shades and then build up gradually as I go. I also, as you'll notice, this is kind of a very, very sketchy, very rough drawing. I am kind of eyeballing everything. And the way I like to draw is to kind of not erase that much, just correct continually as I go. And I kind of like the way that looks in the end. Another thing that I'm doing here is because I'm drawing from a photograph. I'm drawing from a black and white photograph of David Lynch. So all the colors are on my own. I'm picking these. What you'll see me do is I like to flip the image around because I'm drawing from a photograph, and that's just to kind of adjust. So, I mean, you probably know this trick, but it helps. It's like another thing that I like to do is kind of look at a finished drawing in a mirror. So hold it in front of the mirror so you see it flipped around, or you can flip it around, you know, like if you take a picture of it or something. And that's just to kind of trick your brain into seeing it from literally from a different perspective. So, because as you draw, you'll find that you get more and more used to what you're drawing. So your brain kind of gets used to it. So you tend to notice distortions less. So it helps to kind of flip the image around or look at it in the mirror, turn it upside down. But that's just if you're drawing from a photograph. Yeah, otherwise I just kind of I like being loose. I don't like erasing so much. And actually I found out that on this paper, as you'll see later, these pencils don't erase much at all. So I gave up trying to erase. Yeah, so just kind of keep on building up steadily and adjusting as you go. I mean, here you can see that the hair is far too small. Here I was kind of wondering about the texture of the paper because I don't know if you could see from that, but the blue pencil didn't layer so well on top of the pink pencil, and I was just wondering about the tooth of the paper. Yeah, but as I kept going, I found that things kind of sorted themselves out. It was just a matter of just keeping going, adding more. So here I tried with a Tombow Mono eraser, but it didn't work, so I just kind of gave up. I mean, I think I tried a couple of more times, but eventually I just gave up and I just kept going. Yeah, so I just kind of adjusted as I went along. So I like drawing from black and white photographs a lot because I find it easier to use my own colours and just kind of build something I want. Obviously, really, really experienced artists can do that from life, but I just find it a useful exercise. So you'll see I keep adjusting things. There's lots of things that aren't quite right. But as I'm darkening, I can keep on adjusting. Yeah, so as you saw, the eraser didn't particularly work. So yeah, the eraser may not have worked super well on David's head in this drawing, but the eraser head was great. Haha, check me out making terrible jokes. Yeah, so I'm just keeping going. Sometimes I'm flipping the image upside down. And that's just a quick way, like, because I don't want to, I mean, I don't want it to be super photorealistic, but I do want it to, in this case, because I'm drawing a known person, I want it to be a relatively recognizable likeness. I mean, I'm not too bothered if things aren't exactly the same, but I mean, I don't particularly care. I don't want it to be like an exact photorealistic image. I'm never too bothered when I do portraits. It's just me. It's just something that I'm not particularly interested in. But for you, it may be different. So you may want to grade it, or you may want to spend a lot of time. Like if you're drawing from life, for example, you'll do something, you'll measure things. And usually people use a pencil, they'll extend their arm and use a pencil. So for example, when I'm doing life drawing, I will measure with a pencil. But when I'm drawing from a photograph, I don't know, I just enjoy doing quick, sketchy drawings. So I'm not too bothered. But here, because I'm drawing David Lynch, I want it to look like least recognizably like David Lynch. So hence I'm doing the flipping thing. Also because I'm shooting a video and I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours doing it. So that's just a very quick way of adjusting. And it's like, and everything is kind of eyeballed. I'm not really measuring anything. I'm just kind of like, it's just a sketchy drawing. So here you can see I keep switching colors and I'm building it up slowly, darkening it, adding in areas of contrast. A really good trick when you're trying to add contrast to an image is to squint to see how it looks. And that'll really kind of bring out the values. And you can do that when you're drawing from life as well. You can look at your subject and squint, and that'll bring out areas of contrast. And then you can do the same with your drawing. You can squint at your drawing. That's really useful to see if the image has enough contrast. That is, if it's 3D enough, effectively, because the contrast adds depth. And when you're using color, sometimes it's not so easy to see, because the color will make your brain distinguish between different areas. So you may not realize it. It's the thing that I described earlier. As you draw, you get used to it. You get used to your drawing, so you don't notice maybe that it's quite flat. So it's quite useful to squint. Here, I tried erasing again, but no, no. The first film of David Lynch's I remember seeing was Blue Velvet. I taped it off TV as a tween. I didn't really understand everything that was going on in the film when I first watched it, and it was probably not super appropriate for my age. But I remember just feeling this strange connection to its uncanny world. We lived in a small suburban town at the time too, and yeah, this was like the upside down of that. I watched it so many times in my teens until I lost the tape. Something I adored about Lynch was his humour. So much of his stuff was just so incredibly funny, but in a completely genuine way. It's still my favourite kind of thing. Unsettling, uncanny, campy, dreamy stuff that I don't 100% always understand. Nor do I want to. I don't want to know. I just want to feel it in my bones. It's sometimes very dark, but always with a gentleness about it, and a sense that everything is there for a very specific reason. So it's intuitive, not haphazard. And this is how I view art making for me too. And his example helped me greatly in the past few years to feel like I have a right to make the art I need to make, even if I cannot always explain it to others in words, nor do I want to. I like mystery. I like the uncanny. I like complex tangles of meanings that cannot be unpacked. Images, metaphors. On this channel, you don't really get to see my more serious artwork or my music, for example. And this is more a place for me to have some fun doodling and painting more freely as an amateur in these more traditional visual art fields. But for years in my artwork, the artwork that you don't really see here, I have been fascinated with intuition. And this is actually why my channel here on YouTube is called The Strange Connector, by the way. I felt like Lynch approached art making in the same way I do, and I had a similar view of the world, which felt very validating to see. Yeah, he was one of the few people who made art the way I want art and the way I think and express myself. It took me such a long time to be able to own that. I'm still working on it, but he is someone I often think of when I feel insecure about how others will perceive what I do. Because to me too, intuition is the thing that absolutely fascinates me and connects everything I do. I'm kind of amazed that Lynch managed to have such a prominent career despite his refusal to explain. And for that, I will love him forever. I spent so many years, particularly at university, trying to make readily legible artwork, and it was just not me. It had crumbs of me in it, but it was not me. It was rubbish. I was told that this was necessary to connect to others, but I don't think that's true at all. I connect to tangles. I don't connect to linear narratives. And if I'm out there, it means there are others like me out there. So so for me, Lynch is a shorthand to the kind of work I feel is on my wavelength. In a weird way, I feel seen by his work and by his approach. Yeah, like I said, with intuition, nothing is haphazard, though it may not be linear or immediately legible. But I don't want a linear meaning. I don't want a program note. I don't want to know. I want a tangle. And I think in tangles, for better or worse. That's how my mind works. I cannot help it. Intuition is images, it's condensation, it's shortcuts made of complex tangles of information that allow for instant decision. It is not anything goes. It can lead to bad choices, but it can also lead to excellent choices. It's neutral, and it's a different form of intelligence. It is not an unintelligence opposed to reason. It can go hand in hand with it too. I mean, there are fields in which operating by intuition can be dangerous, but as an artist, that's not the case. Also, I am oddly reminded, in an intuitive way, of this Roland Barthes quote, which is from Critical Essays. We often hear it said that it is the task of art to express the inexpressible. It is the contrary which must be said, with no intention of paradox. The whole task of art is to unexpress the expressible, to kidnap from the world's language, which is the poor and powerful language of the passion, another speech, an exact speech. The hair is kind of a disaster. I could have fixed it a bit more. I mean, I wanted this to just kind of be sketchy and loose. It's not a magnificently executed drawing. Damn you, David Lynch. Why did you have such luxuriant hair? It did have good hair. the best head of hair of any director. Sorry, Jim Jarmusch. I have scanned the final sketch. Yeah, so you'll see. So I fixed the eyes and the background as well. I fixed the background texture a bit. I didn't fix the hair though. I don't know, I couldn't be bothered. I mean, you know, sometimes you can go on and on and on and on and keep on working on something, but I mean, if it's meant to be kind of loose and sketchy, at some point you gotta stop, you know? Yeah. And also I kind of like that things are imperfect. I mean, it's got, I don't know, charm to it. I really like when pencils are kind of rough. Like you can see at the bottom where I did his shirt, I kind of left all of the pencil marks. I like that. I like the kind of like rough, sketchy feel of it. I mean, you can keep going and make things really, really, really smooth, but that's not what I enjoy. I mean, it would take far longer, obviously. I mean, people work on their pencil drawings for days. I'm not sure if you can see the texture of the Derwent Lightfast paper. In the background areas, you can see it has a regular texture, even though it's hot pressed. This was noticeable where I applied pencil roughly in a sketchy manner in the background. So it kind of like really, really brought out the truth of the paper and that kind of regularity in the texture. I'm kind of uncertain about the regularity of it. Aesthetically, I'm not that keen on that. But I should try probably a longer drawing with the Derwent Lightfast pencils specifically, just to observe their behavior on this paper, to see if using the pencil the paper is designed for makes a difference to the way the texture looks. Regarding the Marco pencils, layering caused some issues initially, but they blended better the more I worked with them, so with more and more layers. So this issue might have been due to my technique, because I tend to just layer pencils lightly over and over, and I do switch between lots of different colours, and I don't use solvents. So the truth of the paper will fill out unevenly. And I quite like this, but you may not. And here is my finished David Lynch sketchy drawing. If you want to find out more about these pencils, do check out my part 1 video, or click on the links to videos from other art creators that I have added in the description. Well, that's it from me today. I'll see you again in 25 years. Meanwhile,